Hi, Prof. Randy. My presentation about my reflection paper. I wrote about our course issues in leadership foundations, and I start with the theory, talking about the philosophical foundation in worldview. And as I study during the semester, I wrote about metaphysics, epistemology, and axiology. I also wrote about what is a Christian worldview, something about conflicting worldview, and I gave some arguments like cosmological argument and theological argument and moral argument. The practice, and I wrote some activities, people, and events that helped me to put my philosophical foundations and my worldview in practice, and the reflection between the theory and the practice. And I wrote about my Christian worldview as the serve and share part, and then I finished with a conclusion. In the theory, we learned about not only philosophical foundations but also our worldview, and it was interesting that many people don't realize that they have a worldview and why they think the way they think and why we act the way we act. And sometimes that's because we just learned like that with our parents, our education, our culture. It depends where we live. So it was interesting learn that all of us are philosophers, not for the profession, but in the sense that we exist and seek answers of our existence. And the metaphysics, it was interesting because I didn't know those theories. So in my practice in the mission last year in Chile, I was studying the Bible with a philosopher. He was a teacher, and I gave him a book of Ellen G. White, and he told me, it's awesome, all about metaphysics. And I kind of, okay, what is metaphysics? And finally, I had the opportunity to study the issues related to the nature of the reality, and also learn that epistemology is the study of the nature of the truth. So reality, knowledge, and the axiology values. So now I can see the world different. I can understand why I think my principles are real, why I know that, and what is of value for me. So yeah, it was amazing, right? The reflection paper according to Knight, so, his videos that we used during the course. It was amazing the way he talks about philosophy, And we know that there is no consensus about the these themes epistemology, because for some people the values are relative. Maybe for us no, but values change with the culture. Maybe that here in Ecuador is of value, in Brazil is not, or in the United States it's different. So I also wrote about what is a Christian worldview, and I cited Sayer in his book The Universe Next Door, and he also agrees that people do not think about other worldviews in previous centuries. Nobody talked about that. Maybe it's a new thing that we can learn and discuss and teach and talk about. People believe just believed in a God or just feared him. So not only Sayer but also Wilkins and Sanford called his vision as a Christian worldview in his book Hidden Worldviews. And for me it was an amazing experience to learn with them. Yeah, they call hidden worldview because they believe the culture has an important influence to determine one's worldview that not even realize it is there. So many times I talk about worldview and people just look at me like, what are you talking about? So yeah, it's great because I can explain to them that worldview is that. So they, oh, okay, but why we're talking about that? So people don't talk about that, and we need to teach our students. And I wish I could learn like this, like we are learning now in my college, in my school, and unfortunately or fortunately now I have the opportunity to do that. And as I told you before, I talked about conflicting worldview, and even though the collision among conflicting worldviews is unavoidable because in a plural world as ours, we constantly interact with people who have a different conceptual matrix. As I told before, people have different culture, and maybe that's why we have there are conflicts, struggles, divergence, or serious disagreements, as we see in Middle East. People don't respect each other, their religion, and it's hard to be in peace and love if we don't put our strength in one God and respect others that think different from us. And I also talk about the cosmological argument, and that's what Paul calls in Romans 1:20, that he says, for since the creation of the world his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. So the Bible shows us the cosmological argument. We can see God and we can reach the conclusion that God exists through the natural revelation. Another argument is the theological argument that Boards says that can be explained that every project has a designer. The universe and the life were designed. The universe and the life has a designer. So the theological argument as the cosmological one, first, it's very logical that every project has a designer, but sometimes we need to prove the others. If the universe and the life were designed, some people don't believe in that. So I can go to the moral argument. How to explain the morality, more or less inherent to each human being without a creator of this moral. That's true that it's hard to prove God's existence, but we need to decide. It's something that we have to decide, believe it or not. And in the practice part, I wrote about my experience with my nephew, and it's interesting. I'm here in his place now, and the way he thinks, the way he acts. Yeah, we are in a new age. We are in a new century, and it's different the way I used to treat my father, my parents, and the way the kids are today. Maybe because they don't have the culture, the principle, the values, the reality, the knowledge that we have. So it's interesting to see how a 5-year-old boy talks like an adult, and the perception, very intelligent, technology, whoa, TV. So it was a great experience that I had during this semester. And another experience was with the restaurant manager, the Colombian restaurant. Yesterday I had the pleasure to be there again, and always the server, the manager is the server. The owner is not just watching, no, is there serving us. So the conclusion is we need to be servers. The real leader is a server leader. Also, I did the connection with the theory and the practice in my reflection, and how the theory has helped me to understand my practice. And studying issues in leadership theory helped me to understand more the real world. Now I do not see people's behavior. I can understand them. On the other hand, maybe I don't know why they act the way they do, but I can imagine that's because they have a different worldview, because they see the world from a different perspective for me. I learned to respect more others and their culture. So my experience during the first 8 weeks was amazing. I could read, discuss, and reflect about worldviews and my worldview as well. It is different analyzing the first leader from the second leader because now I can reflect why things are the way they are. I have learned about values, reality, knowledge, ethics, different worldviews, and all that helped me to see the world differently, maybe respect more others and be more patient with them. So, how my practice has helped me understand the theory. When I analyze the different types of worldview, I understand why I have or had some individualism, consumerism, and others' attitudes. This study helped me to identify what is not Christian worldview and realize that I need to change my life to link my speech to my deeds. So it was amazing. In the serve and share part, I talked about my Christian worldview that since I was younger, I appreciate to help people. I used to do fundraising with my neighborhood to buy address ambulance to help sick people. Those people could be healed by those donations. I used to donate clothes, food to, to church and visit orphanage with the AY, Adventist Youth in the United States, in Brazil, in Chile. When I worked in a bank in Brazil, also I coordinated a donation program where the employees could donate blankets for poor people. I also participated as a volunteer in the bank foundation, telling stories to children and doing with employees fundraising to help institutions. I also work for some NGOs such as ADRA, coordinating a project, a social project in which treated young boys involved with drugs. I also worked with another NGO, American Institute for Research, being a project supervisor in more than 10 schools teaching technology and professional work skills. So I love the social responsibility, sustainability, and during the last 2 years, I could share my skills being a missionary in Brazil and in Chile, and I could teach people about God's existence. It's not easy to prove God's existence, as I told you, but I try to show them my Christian worldview and field arguments. I taught them the moral, theological, and cosmological arguments, and I could learn more as I taught others. It was a great experience, and now I want to help others to do the same, maybe with my offerings, with speech, teaching them how to do the same. So, uh, this was my presentation about my reflection paper, and through the study of issues in leadership philosophy, we could learn the theory about some worldviews and how it influences our career. We could explore what experts had to say about this competency, philosophy and self. Also, we could practice what we learned through the week activities during reflection and observing leaders and different people. Then we could reflect on what we learned, think how the theory helps us to understand the way we live and why we act as we do. Finally, we could share that we learned helping and serving people, but in fact, we were the most helped because we learned more when we teach others. So, Professor Randy, I hope you liked this presentation. And yeah, it was long, but take care. Blessings. God bless you. Bye bye.